Streaming now on IWTV. Action Wrestling. Check our schedule for all upcoming Action Wrestling events scheduled to stream live on IWTV. Watch over 90 Action Wrestling shows on demand anytime, featuring AC Mack, Adam Priest, Alex Kane, Cruel, and more.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Business podcast. I am your co-host, JP Chapas from the Two-Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is Dr. M. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, John, I'm doing well. I've been very curious. I know that you went to GCW One Night Stand at the old ECW Arena. Saw some pictures that you shared with Brett Lauderdale, but I haven't heard anything else about it. So want to get the full scoop.
As Trick Williams would say, let's talk about it. I was not wanting to talk about it off air because I want to talk about it on air with you. It's a very interesting show. Just when I was driving up, I'm like, I've been to MLW, been to TNA there, I've been to ROH, I've been to CZW, been to 3B, I've been to like every promotion, there, post ECW, of course. And I was like, man, I feel like GCW, there's going to be plenty of parking, not going to be any issues. I was dead wrong. As soon as I pulled in, I'm like, man, I was like, this is going to be a jammed house here. This is going to be a packed house. It's hard to tell sometimes on the ticket map, sold out, because they're very old school. Even the printable tickets, it's like very, very old school the way they do stuff at the 2300 Arena. But man, it was packed. And I would say standing room only. We basically were standing too. I feel like maybe more crowded than some of the other shows I went to. So really a nice house, if you will, for GCW on Saturday in Philly.
Oh, wow. Very interesting, because we were looking at that the reserve tickets were there, and as we were looking week to week, like it kept showing the different sections, of I guess it's 4 quarters, right? That's GA, and if there's 40 remaining in the whole building, they'll only say like you get 20 at a time because they're not together,
yes.
Quote unquote. So
yep.
Okay, so sold out show.
Definitely.
Did they? Was there any delay getting in there? Everything smooth to get to the seats, start the show?
Very good, very smooth, very easy. I was just surprised because sometimes, like when you're in standing room only and it's sold out, sometimes it can get like a little like uncomfortable. But we found our spot, found our niche, and found a great spot, kind of right by the gorilla position, if you will, closer to that area, to kind of closer to the stage. We found a nice little spot and kind of didn't have to worry about getting too cramped in there, because it was pretty crowded. I gotta say, I was kind of like pleasantly surprised. I'm like, I was wondering how they would do, just because GCW doesn't always necessarily run that arena, but they have done Philly a bunch with Harrah's and that whatever that other casino is down the street. So it's like, oh, I wonder if people are clamoring for it, and it just felt like, I don't know, that's the crowd for GCW, that South Philly crowd. That's where they ought to be, if you will.
Yeah, and we'd been talking about it for years with Brett, and he was just like, it's not the time yet. I can always go there and so on. And with this special branding, which is hard to repeat, right? One night only. How many one nights can you do? I guess you could do them in different cities, but you can't come back for a second one night only. But in wrestling, maybe you can. So, okay, so from a business success, that was their I know that there's been a small merchandise table when I've been at the Brooklyn shows. How was the merchandise?
The merch was kind of, I would say, pretty plentiful. There was plenty of tables. I'd say like maybe 10 tables or so, just because the different guys were set up. Like Nate Spiderweb had his own table. Joey Janela had his own table. Ricky Morton, who I love that he was there. And my buddy that I went with, he was like marking out because he came over and said like, hello, and like, what's going on, guys? And just BS with him. But such a nice guy. He's like, man, what a legend. That was great that, we just got to BS with Ricky Morton for a few minutes. But there was plenty of merch and plenty of stuff to go around. And almost all the guys were represented, like all the guys that were there, the bigger names, if you will, that they were used. Gringo Loco had his own table. So pretty good as far as the merch.
Now, I know the card, you weren't so sure about it exactly because of sometimes the full marquee, it doesn't play to the uniqueness of a GCW show, which is, I think, the real formula of it. So how are the actual matches and the vibe for the event?
I thought the actual vibe for the event was great. The crowd was really into it. I feel like sometimes the crowd can make the show, and that Philly crowd sometimes when they're into it, it's like you kind of get sucked into it. You can't help not be into it. So they definitely helped. I felt like had the excitement throughout the show. They made it really interesting, really good. Some matchups I didn't particularly like because I'm not into the intergender matches, if you will, the men versus the women. Not into that as much, but Janela did a great job with Viperous, and they actually had a good match where the crowd was really into it. Took some insane bumps. They did some funny thing with a door, and they're throwing their head through the door like they're Jack Nicholson or whatever doing the or Jack Nicholas, excuse me. Or is it? No, Jack Nicholson. Well, I'm confusing him with the golfer there, Jack Nicholson, doing the "Here's Johnny" like that kind of thing with Joey. I thought that was a cool spot. But for the most part, I liked it though. The car was pretty good. The crowd was into it. They did a funny little thing where Homicide came out, and then John Zandig made his return. So that popped me. I thought that was cool to kind of do. And then obviously Ruckus gets inducted into the Hardcore Hall of Fame, which was cool. If you're an old school CZW fan, you got to appreciate and you got to love Ruckus, who, by the way, had one of the top matches just as far as number count ever at that arena. So you would think like, oh, it's probably an ECW guy, but no, it's Ruckus. He's way up there on the list of most matches ever at that arena because of CZW and all the other indies and GCW that were there. So obviously well deserved for him. And I like the main event, typical death match. Nick Gage, it is what it is. That's what you're going to get. And I love Bear Bronson. I think that TNA has somebody great in him and somebody they can definitely build upon. So I like the card. I thought it was pretty good, pretty fun. And Ricky Morton did wrestle, although I messaged Brett. I'm not happy with the booking because Ricky Morton lost. But I'll get over it. But still, I thought it was good. Good stuff all around it. And I feel like the crowd just enhanced it.
How is Nick Gage looking? Like, how is he moving around well?
He's not as quick as he used to be, but yeah, as they say, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Remember the old Toby Keith line there? I feel like he's definitely skinnier, so he definitely got into shape. And Brett had mentioned that he kind of a long journey to get where he is today. So you could tell he's definitely been working out, definitely been in the gym. Maybe a tad slower, but the crowd didn't care. They were so into him. He could walk with a cane, and he'd be over. They wouldn't care in that arena. So he impressed me though, because I was like, oh, I wonder if he's going to be in shape, and he was in shape. He kept up with Bear Bronson, which is a pretty high task to do.
So did it feel like sort of like this is a promotion that's on the rise? Was this sort of like a nostalgia show? Like sometimes you get the temperature live, like where things are pointed.
I feel like it definitely was more of like a nostalgia show type of thing, I feel like. But also the crowd was kind of into all the guys that they really kind of needed to be into. Like obviously they're trying to get the girl Viperous over, and they were into her at the end, kind of gave her that like respect thing. So I don't know, I feel like they're in the right direction, but you could tell the stalwarts, Joey Janela and Nick Gage, are probably like the most over guys.
So when did you connect with Brett Lauderdale, and did he know who you were right away, or did you have to tell him?
I don't know if he knew right away. I always do that anyway, just to make it easier for everybody. Like, hey, it's John. I was like, business to business. Yes, what's up? And I said, hey, let's get a picture. This is right before the show started. I was like, let's get a picture. Yes, sure. So he was cool, but you could tell they were like pulling him in like 10 different directions. They wanted him to cut an in-ring promo. I don't know if somebody was telling him as far as Triller, like when they're going on the air. So somebody's like in his ear the whole time getting him stuff. So he was busy. He was running around like a madman trying to keep everything together. And he was trying to keep his eye on the 76ers who were trying to make the playoffs or advance the next round of the playoffs, which they did.
So you got him early in the show. I've always caught him at the end.
Yes, early. At the end, I figured it might get a little too crazy, a little too hectic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did they like do anything where like everyone got in the ring at the end, or was it that sort of thing?
No, because they did it during kind of the whatchamacallit, the Ruckus match when there was a 4-on-4 with the 4 old school guys against the 4 new school guys. They kind of did it there, which is kind of right by intermission time, if you will, even though it technically wasn't intermission, right towards the middle of the show, because they had the old school guys and they had the new school guys and they had Kerry Morton come out and kind of rip on everybody in the match, and he got beat up, and then Zandig came out and Homicide came out. So that was all kind of towards the middle part of the show. Towards the end, it was just Nick Gage cutting one of his heartfelt promos after he beat Bear Bronson, which I was kind of wondering, because remember there was a big issue with TNA guys losing. Lost on GCW on Triller, TNA guy, and it didn't seem to matter. So I was kind of curious of kind of how that would go.
Some more evidence that it's a potentially a AEW issue in that regard. Now, is this the venue, John, where you had your legendary managerial career?
Yes, yes, I did manage Shane Douglas at this venue. Made my managerial debut being his kind of corner man and managing him and helping him beat Luke Hawks for Wildcat Wrestling. So that was awesome. People were probably, who the hell is this guy jumping in the ring to, beating up Luke Hawks and taking a bump? Like, who the heck is this guy? But yeah, that was me. Made my
You
debut. That was a lot of fun. That was awesome.
you should have like pressured Brett, be like, I have history, Brett. People are gonna remember. You gotta put me in there.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Oh, I saw Nick Gage pull out the pizza slicer." I'm like, let's just hang out in the crowd. Let's just not get involved. I don't want to get sliced and diced."
Who is that guy that's his manager? I never like got that thing.
Oh, Dewey or whatever. Yeah, Dewey. I honestly, I don't get it, but it's one of those old school like indie show stuff where like the manager for some reason is managing the guy and it doesn't fit, it doesn't work, it doesn't look right, but you just like, okay, I'm just gonna go with this. Like that's what it felt like to me. It's like, all right, I know it's old school. I know he used to be his manager. It's like, well, it's like I guess it works, but it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. In a very different way, it's sort of like when Jimmy Hart manages a baby face. Or no, when Jimmy Hart is the baby face and manages Hulk Hogan. It's sort of like,
Yes.
you don't really need to be there. You're supposed to be on the other side of things. It's
Yes.
sort of like when you like squish nostalgia together, but like it doesn't
Yep.
exactly make sense. So anything, we have a GCW section not too far along here, but anything else to cap this off? Would you go back for one night only two? Did this fulfill your GCW needs at this time?
I was going to say just the energy there, and I love the arena anyway because I just think it's a great venue, and just it's like easy for me to get to, easy for me to get home. So I like everything about the arena. I have nothing bad to say about it. The only thing I would say is I think would be excited if they would do a second one, even though it's supposed to be one night only. If they do one night only two or one night only again, I would definitely go. I think GCW just crowd wise, they get you kind of so pumped, and it's almost like. You get into like a state where you're like, oh, this is great. Like, puts you in a good mood. Everybody's happy. Everybody's excited. Everybody's pumped. Even if it's something that kind of flops, they kind of pop anyway. And there might be a screw up, and then they get the "you effed up" chant. I don't know. It's just kind of old school, a little bit with a little mix of new school with a little bit of hardcore. So I like it, and I think the energy is great.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the keys to these successful promotions. You sort of like have to have your own vibe.
Yeah,
And like that's what
they
like
have it.
people are going for rather
Yep.
than like who's on the card and so on. But we'll see it a little bit. Some places it's working out better than others. So John, that caps it off. Our John goes to GCW one night only section.
Nice, perfect. Let's talk a little TNA while we're bringing up Bear Bronson and TNA stuff. Let's bring them up. See what you got on the table for the good old TNA wrestling.
Yeah. So as we had been talking about the last couple of weeks, a little bit of a mess with their massive on sale, and that sort of has rolled out slowly. Some on sales still forthcoming. I don't think anyone is too disappointed, but got to plan that a little bit better. But this might have related to some restrictions with AEW running similar buildings and so on. But what's ahead of us? So May 14th, the long talked about Sacramento show, just 849 tickets distributed. On the 15th, 800 tickets distributed. Then we move ahead to Colorado on June 6th, 836 tickets. The next night, 633 tickets. So as we can see here, way down from last year, not in the same markets, but in terms of interest in the product, whether it's a week out or 3 or 4 weeks out, obviously it'll increase, but there's that sort of issue. Now, TNA changed its Slammiversary time to avoid the Forbidden Door show. So they will be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Wow.
I was joking that Tony Khan should really crush them. Would be like do one of those Japanese shows like they did for the women's wrestling, where it was like a 12-hour show.
Yes.
Be like, we're starting the show at noon and we're going to midnight. Just cover the whole day, crush them. But I think like for people that order TNA, like they're still going to do what they're going to do for a crossover audience. A little bit that's the challenge. Some people are open to watching two shows in the same day. Some people not. But in Boston on June 28th, 1,007 tickets distributed there. Then we go to Albany, July 1st, 260 tickets on the first day, 271 on the second day. And then there's a number of shows that they have upcoming that the on sales are not yet on sale. I had thought I grabbed that screen, so let me just buy a second for myself for the upcoming events that are not yet on sale. So we talked about Boston, Albany. So Philadelphia, July 30th and 31st. I think that was one of the issues, right? Because AEW is running there. Then Chicago, August 23rd for Lockdown, August 27th and 28th in Brampton, Ontario. Back to San Antonio, September 24th and 25th, October 11th, Young League Center for Bound for Glory, and November 15th in Edmonton.
Are you interested in any of these shows? That's what I'm wondering.
My answer is no, but I can always be intrigued. I'm not like a big I don't hate them, but I don't know. I'm not a big like TNA watcher. I've only did I go to anything else? I've only been when they had the Pop TV debut for TNA, but it's kind of like a little bit of the same thing for me with AEW. It's sort of like it's kind of there, a little bit vanilla for me. I don't mind it, but I'm not like that interested at all. How about for you, John?
I actually am interested in the Philly shows for sure. I just wish it was at the arena and not at Temple, the Light Core Center. I just would be more interested, just because it's a bit more of a pain in the ass to get over there and park and stuff. The arena, even though it is smaller, it's just so much better, and the vibe is better in there.
I like the way the Temple place looks on TV.
Yeah. Yep.
So if they can get a decent crowd, and depending on how much they want to promote it and where, they can definitely do that. But it's good to, get so much out there early, so people can plan. But you're gonna have to do more than that to fill these venues or get a bigger crowd.
Now let's go back to GC Dub, because I'm just wondering what's going on, not just about obviously the arena show, but what's going on with the rest of GCW, Game Changer Wrestling.
On the 15th, in Detroit, we're about 1 week out when we record this, Guilty Conscience. I was curious because Harpo's has been their place for a while, but then the Juggalos were doing all these free shows there. So I was wondering if it would be harder to sell tickets in the market. But they've sold the first 3 rows. So I think that's a good sign for them relatively in that way. Then they're back to the St. Louis market. Plenty of tickets from the second row and beyond. Then I believe it's a debut in Iowa, in Des Moines. Ring of Dreams. Everyone goes for the cornfield theme. Still tickets left in the front row. They'll sell that out, but 10 or more tickets left in the second row and beyond. Then in Europe for a couple of shows. Atlantic City is one of the standouts there for the Tournament of Survival, which is 5th row deep for TOS, and then Cage of Survival still has tickets in the 3rd row and beyond. So, John, I get the sense that for you, like, if you're going to go to a show, you're more likely to go in Philadelphia than Atlantic City.
Yeah, for some reason, I just feel like, I don't know, I like it better in Philly, but the AC thing is kind of just intriguing to me because I used to go to the shows there, and I don't know why. I feel like I maybe need to give that a chance again, because I know WWE is coming, oddly enough, to AC for a Raw and SmackDown taping in one night. So I don't know. I may have to open myself back up to AC. Even though I'm a Jersey boy, Philly's actually technically closer just a little bit for me.
I'm not sure why I thought it was the other way around. That's really interesting.
No, but it's minuscule minutes. It's like 10 minutes. It's like 10 minutes, literally maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like It's not bad, but for some reason, I don't know why AC is just a little bit longer to get to.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, no, actually, I didn't have it in the notes otherwise, but I did notice the WWE to Atlantic City. Possibly the first time that a official press release has acknowledged the actual location of WrestleMania 4 and 5, John.
Really?
Yeah, right, because it's always Trump plazas we've talked about ad nauseum, with the Trump Media book. But in this press release, it said it was in Boardwalk Hall,
Boardwalk Hall. Yep.
which is great.
That's
I really like that venue. I've been
cool
there
venue.
a number of times for boxing, and as we've talked about on the Ultimate Fighters podcast, UFC 41, just like an old school cool venue, like a little bit of an awkward setup because it's really like the elevated seating is only on two sides of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be weird, like, as far as, like, is this set up for wrestling? You know what I mean? It's just, like, the way it's set up, you kind of question it sometimes.
The way I think about it is, like, thinking about maybe, like, a basketball team, like, no one wants to sit behind the baskets, so maybe they're like, "Okay, we'll just do it on two sides." So, kind of weird in that way, but like, a cool venue nonetheless. So, the Tournament of Survival, like I mentioned, is a highlight. A curiosity is this Cincinnati show on June 19th at the 20th Century Theater. There's a little seat map there. So there's 3 rows, which is just like 2 sides of it that are sold out. There's GA, and then there's a balcony with reserved seating where a couple of those rows are gone. I think they'll end up doing well there because it's just a curiosity type of show. Then they'll be in actually I missed. They'll be in Wildwood, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and then LA, which is a little bit early to track there, but that's their strongest market for quite a while consistently, which we've been talking about.
Now, as far as New Japan Pro Wrestling is concerned, what's going on with them? Because I feel like they're a little bit stagnated, even though there's a great number about as far as how many tickets are sold. I feel like a little bit stagnated right now.
Yeah, I don't know how they are getting the word out much about this G1 Climax show. I haven't seen much, on the socials, but yeah, they're moving along at the clip sort of you expect this midpoint. 66 tickets, 2,738. So we'll see as it gets closer and matches, and sometimes it's unclear what talent will be there, but with the G1 you'd have that expectation. And here's sort of like, you can't really credit New Japan, but just because they're involved, it gives us a sense of the market. New Japan tends to be a good spice, I guess is the best way to put it, for AEW, especially with this Forbidden Door show. So that's moving along well. June 28th, 4,574 tickets there. They'll get the Dave Meltzer effect in San Jose. So that's that with New Japan. I think maybe are they doing something with them in London later? I'm not sure, but that's basically New Japan's situation outside of Asia.
What about WWE? I know we don't talk too much WWE, but let's talk about WWE developmental, not just NXT, but some WWE ID. What's going on with some of the shows? Maybe some cancellations as well, and maybe a little bit on CW.
Yeah, so just a couple interesting pieces here. They canceled a planned NXT show live in Lowell Auditorium. It's a decently sized venue in terms of I think, what is it, depending on who's counting and what records are being broken, but generally a 5,000 seat venue. But that's been canceled. I think it was just a little bit over 1,000 tickets when it was canceled, so that makes sense. They they don't seem to really achieve the numbers that they're looking for when NXT tries to go on the road for some of these tapings. But also interesting because we don't hear as much about ID anymore. Breaking, see the stars of Evolve and ID in Worcester on May 15th with Beyond Wrestling presents the ID Showcase. It'll be a very special main event as Aaron Rourke returns, where he was ID'd to defend the WWE title. This is part of a sort of a long weekend for Beyond, where they're teaming up with like multiple promotions and so on to make a little something of it. I think they do this annually now too, but I don't know, with WWE ID, John, it doesn't seem to be breaking through to anything, and I'm not sure how much it's kind of influencing the WWE pipeline, which is something that we talked about maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just to me not particularly working, I guess. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a smooth transition. Doesn't seem like if you're a fan of an indie, you necessarily want to be, it to be a part of like a WWE thing, and you're thinking, oh, this guy's got to win. It's WWID, and like, that type of thing. It kind of ruins it a little bit of luster. If I was a fan going to strike, that wouldn't sway me to want to go because WWID. I feel like that would almost not deter me, but almost have me have no interest in it. Just I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me as much.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of times also they're sort of like floating to these promotions of like super hardcore fans that are like really follow the indie scene and know like everything that's going on, like a Beyond and with GCW and that sort of thing. But I think the ID thing would work a lot better, John, like for like what is it? Independent superstars of pro wrestling in New Jersey, like
Yeah.
the type of shows where like, they fill a high school gym. It's a kid's birthday party, whatever it may be, like,
Yeah. Yep.
they draw and they have a version of Doink and, whatever.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know who it is, but somebody from WWE is here. Like when I took my son to the show in Yonkers, which we've referred to a number of times, and we'll go this year, but like, I was able to identify one of their wrestlers was under a WWE ID thing. So like that was like that I pointed out to him and like, it was like an interesting thing. So that's probably where it works most, but ultimately it has to work for them in terms of developing talent. Does it help talent to stay more with pro wrestling when they're struggling on the independent scene? Are they more equipped? I don't know. I haven't seen, every evidence of that, but it doesn't seem to be like a big investment in it either.
Now, as far as MLW is concerned, I feel like you got a decent amount of news on MLW coming up.
So quietly, they have, or actually they already had it. A show in Mexico City. Really, it's a CMLL show, but it was branded as CMLL versus MLW 2026. I guess check out the results if you want to hear what happened. But if they could use that footage on their programming, that would be great. So that just shows the relationships that they have, but can't really count that attendance or whatever for MLW. Chattanooga, Tennessee, on the 9th. Looks like nearly sold out. New York City, they always do well at the Melrose Ballroom. That is looking full. Speaking about 2300 Arena, that has picked up a lot for them. Still plenty of tickets left, especially on the second day. And then they return to, not return, but they'll be in Cicero Stadium. And then they'll return to South Carolina. And those are looking pretty good, as well. So as we say, many weeks, MLW continuing to do its thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting with them. I know a buddy of mine went to MLW, said he had fun, good time there. Just interesting kind of seeing them like floating along, and then you're hearing like they're going to sign all these guys, and I'm not really familiar with really anybody that they signed. I really can't tell you even by name who they were, so I wasn't even familiar with them. But it just seems like they're plugging along, if you will. And I know that some of the guys that got released from WWE are probably going to end up there, so we'll see. And I know Cross is the champ, so it should have some sort of appeal to it, and your boy Riddle is there, so I don't know.
I'm going to say something very harsh.
Yes.
Their best chance of making money was to take that payout from the WWE settlement, divided by the percent of ownership by whoever else is involved,
20 million
call
bucks,
it a day. 20 million, whatever it is Peace Bauer has or his company has, and whatever the other investors have, right? There's a number of, I think, upstate New York investors were listed as like in an article a few years ago, because it kind of feels like right now they're throwing good money after bad. Like they're not spending a lot, but I don't think they're making a lot, and it's probably like in the negative. And like, okay, if you just want to be involved in the wrestling business and it makes you happy, and maybe they did do some sort of payout, where they're like, okay, well, we'll take a risk with the rest, and the program isn't bad, but is there really a place in the market for them? I don't know. I guess we're about to talk about the NWA, and they were kind of in a similar position, and maybe they're getting somewhere now. So maybe something's going to break. But MLW had its moment, I would say right before AEW. That place in the market was closed, and they really haven't gotten anywhere since then. And right, it's always this like poor communication, like things like Court Bauer saying like sort of where the like what would they say, we're the punk of pro wrestling, and then people were like bashing him on social to the effect where like he was like, I'm just done with this sort of thing. Or there's always like, we signed these talents. It's like whoever it is, Ricky, Shane Page, and then they're gone. And then like he's had different talents, or like it's like cool with the Andersons, and then it's like, are they still involved? I don't know. Like whatever it is, like different situations that occur in communications and be in sports and all that sort of thing. So they're not hurting anyone. It's good for wrestlers if they have an additional place to work. They're semi high profile, so you can sort of leverage that and keep going. So it's all good, but it's hard to find, like, if I was a percentage owner, I would take that money and have a good time. But if not, and I was trying to figure things out, I just would see a place in the market. Like, you have to find whether it's style, and I know they have this fusion style, which I never liked that. Like, I never liked restaurants. I call themselves fusion because, like, I might like Chinese food, but I don't want it mixed with like something else, right? Like, you gotta want it to stand alone. Or geographically, right? Maple Leaf Pro is gonna be like, we are gonna be Canada's wrestling promotion again. Like, that's a smart idea. I think that would have worked potentially for TNA when they were struggling a few years ago. So, but what's MLW's place in the market?
Now, here's maybe the most interesting story that I wanted to definitely get on your radar, and I'm happy that you're right on this after I said this to you. So I wanted to put this on your radar and get that. What is going on with the NWA, and what are these ratings? Because that seems like a high number. That's higher than TNA was getting. I know it's broadcast TV versus, I guess, cable. So what is the number? Is it true? And I'm just fascinating if it is true.
Yeah, John, when you first sent it to me, not that I doubted you, but I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I knew
like,
you're going to say that, yeah.
Because wrestlers want to believe, like,
yes.
sort of like when you had ECW go down, and then like, right, like MEC, what was the main event championship wrestling was going to be like, we're going to book here, we're going to book there. And like, Francine's like, yeah, let's let them try. Don't be negative about it. Maybe it'll work out. You kind of know that it's not going to work out. And I like Wrecking Ball, like in terms of a performer. I've seen him at Catalyst Wrestling. He kind of has a cool thing, and he wants things to work because this is the biggest spotlight that he has. But I'm like, where is this coming from? And then I didn't notice where it was. And it actually is coming from a very credible source. Adam Ware is an executive with Sinclair who totally built out their diginets. So he oversees Comet TV. He has been an executive forever with places like Fox, I believe it, and so on. So he, like on his LinkedIn, he's often commenting like, "Oh, we just did really well with Saturday Night Live reruns, and here's where we ranked, and here's the numbers, and all that sort of stuff." So he hasn't yet posted on LinkedIn, a breakdown of this. So that's what I'm most curious about. That's where I want to see it from. I'll take that as fully credible, even if we can't get official Nielsen numbers. But I just have the feeling it's gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry, we kind of screwed up. I thought it was gonna be we read it wrong or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, like how they could do that well. It wasn't that well promoted. I mean, maybe on Comet. And May 2nd, when was it? That was the Friday night prime time, right? If let's see. May 2nd was the Saturday, I think the Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m., right? Because they debuted on a Friday in prime time. So we're saying, like, if I have it correct, that they did this at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. I don't know. I mean, if they did, that's amazing, right? Like, it was pretty surprising when we got the WOW numbers, and that they were doing numbers like this, but that was on, over the air stations, across the US. So hopefully this is true for the business. But I am skeptical. What do you think, John?
I don't know. When I initially saw that, I was skeptical just because the TNA number obviously was more than the TNA number, and TNA was kind of pumping it up. To me, I know some people say they didn't pump it up enough, but I thought TNA was pumping it up way more than NWA pumped it up. So, and I was seeing the TNA stuff when I was actually watching AMC and even watching some streaming channels. I saw that pop up. I've never seen the NWA stuff pop up, so just weary of like, is that true? Could it be true? Is it not true? So I don't know. I was a little skeptical, but if it is, I'm hoping it's true because I want them to do well. I like NWA.
Yeah, I hope it does well. It's just sort of like AEW did 375,000 on the same day. I don't think it was a crossover in time, but like it's just hard to. And
there's no way they're doing almost comparable to AEW in like logical by logicals. I would say,
yeah. Like you could like in theory, like if you have the antenna or it's on your cable system or whatever, like you can do this. Maybe like I don't know, maybe it's Nielsen and they're like, okay, we're counting everyone that streamed it on the Comet station or whatever. So, we're trying to figure this out. But Comet has always like, and those sort of stations, under their umbrella, Stir and Charge TV, it was always like, their numbers were small before like they really got a lot bigger. And it'd be like, we did a 200% increase in 12 to 24, but we're not actually going to give you the number or whatever. So always curious about that. So hopefully that's a good thing, something to watch. It'll all come out one way or another. But in a smaller story, but just something interesting, Effie is going for the NWA World title against somebody that you are a fan of, Silas Mason. They're not going to change it in Chicago, even though it's, Billy Corgan's promotion. But I think a smart thing they're not going to change it, but a smart thing to do, like just to have a talent like Effie involved. They'd be smart to have him, on their national programming, as well. But ramping up in terms of the NWA proper, they are on tour. They did a couple shows in the last year, like in basically Queens, Long Island border, but they're doing a show in Grovetown, Georgia, on tour. Let's see, when is this? On June 7th. Then Hard Times at Center Stage has moved 109 tickets so far. That will be June 6th. And just announced, John, it all centers back. 2300 Arena, July 25th. And of course, the NWA loves the American iconography. NWA 78 in Philly. So have you ever been to a NWA show?
Not this incarnation of it. No, I have not. Old school NWA, yes.
How about Dennis Carluso shows?
Yes. Oh, a bunch. Yes.
Oh, really? Amazing.
I didn't realize NWA was July 25th. Wow, interesting.
I think I just saw it this morning. Like PW Insider had that. I'd love to hear more about those Carluso shows. Like,
there were some of them were like actually really good, like kind of fun.
Right? They had like the 50-50 raffle.
Yes. All that. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Yes. The only thing with that NWA show though, that's in Philly on the 25th. The Yankees are in Philly that day, so I don't know if that necessarily will affect the crowd, but in that area, I think it's going to get a little crowded in that area, just as far as some sports fans coming and people taking that exit there, and to get into Philly there. I think it's going to be kind of crazy. I don't know if that'll necessarily hurt the wrestling fans per se, but I was interested in the NWA show, but I think I might rather go to Yankees Phillies.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh, right. What do they call that? Interleague play?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, no, I only know that geography you're referring to, John, because I think I mentioned this before. I actually walked it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the UFC. I wanted to get to the UFC show like for the prelims, right? Because it was Saturday night, but it was in the summer. So the Sabbath hadn't ended yet. So I was walking from a friend's house, not even knowing Philadelphia. I just had a map. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I know some memories are bad, so I hope I'm not, whatever. But I ended up walking past the corner of Rittner and Swanson, took a few moments to take that in. And then, you're walking by, right? Like you see, I know that they built some different stuff, right? It's all like sort of in the same place. The baseball stadium, the football stadium, the arenas. There was one arena across from the other arena at the time. Like there was the Flyers and then there was the minor league Flyers. Like it was all there.
Yeah. Yep. I remember like if you're going to a concert necessarily and there was like a game going on, like the parking lot would be kind of crazy and like the middle part would be nuts just as like where to park and where to go and stuff. It can get like kind of crazy. They basically put it all in the same area, all that stuff.
How much parking do they have, right? Like, let's say there's three things at once. You need like 100,000 lots.
Yeah, then basically they'll open up lots and you have to walk quite a bit. So they have the space, they can open it up, but can get nuts.
Oh,
I mean, get really crazy.
it's like I was gonna call it Giant Stadium, but what's it called now? MetLife Stadium.
Yes.
Where you could park, but like you're a 25-minute walk
Yes.
away.
Yes, and sometimes you got to take that bridge all the way over because there's so many people. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, I used to go with somebody who was very strategic. Like he would rather walk a ton, but like be like by the exit ramp to get.
Yes, when you get out.
Yeah.
Man, at Giant Stadium, even at SummerSlam when we went last year, it's like, man, we got to get out of here early because it just becomes like a traffic jam. It's nuts.
To be the best, like going in and out of New York, is to take the Port Authority bus. I think they like even have their own lanes or something because like it's just like they just line up one after the other after the other. Easy
peasy. Yes. Now I got to mention this one last final thing, and I don't know what you think about it, but what about Nattie Neidhart saving Bloodsport? What do you think about that?
I love this so much. I was like trying to think about like who could it be, and like I missed it. Like Nattie is like the perfect answer. Now, I don't know if she wants to do it through Brett Lauderdale. You already have the infrastructure. Obviously, she's still with WWE. She has a lot going on. How would she start up her own thing? Like, I'm sure there'd be a lot of relatives that'd be like, oh, we can help you promote this. Yeah, she would be the perfect representative, I think, actually. So here's what she said about it. When I heard that Josh Barnett was not doing Bloodsport anymore, there was a big part of me that said, why can I do something like that? Why can't I be the first female promoter in WWE history to start something up on my own that's comparable to Bloodsport? Because what Bloodsport did for me and what Barnett did for me in competing, they're building something new and proving myself. Bloodsport for me is like what you have to prove. You've got to have a chip on your shoulder to do that and do it great. There are people that are going there, going to Bloodsport and fighting to prove something. I was like, man, that would be a dream for me to bring something like that to life. I've thought about that quite a bit. Of course, nothing is solidified or anything like that. But I was like, that's a dream of mine, to create something all new and be the first female to do that.
I like it. I like her style. I like what she's thinking about. And obviously, you don't want to lose Bloodsport. It's kind of a cool little gimmicky thing that they've got going on. It draws pretty well. So I could see why she'd want to keep it going.
Yeah, I keep becoming a bigger Nattie fan. Not that I wasn't, but like I just don't follow the product basically in the years since she started that much. But from this idea and her I've seen at least clips of those matches. Those were great. Loved her book recently. So hopefully she wants to do something like this.
That would be cool. I would like it for sure. Just to keep, as far as just keep going for Bloodsport, I just feel like you got to keep it going, even if Josh Barnett does not want to do it.
And John will call this. This was the here and there. So we have our streak going.
Yes, good call. We got to always keep that going as far as here and there. So let's wrap up this bad boy and let's head towards the plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Lavie?
Follow me on X at Lavie Marg, LAVIE MARG. And John, achievement unlocked. 150 members of the Business of the Business group on LinkedIn. So now we're on the push to 200. Tell your friends, call somebody. And of course, support my newest book project, Ultimate Fighters. Donald Trump, Dana White, and UFC's Road to the White House. Oh, and before we conclude today, John, I had a very special guest in my sports and politics class this week. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. BTZ himself, Brandon Thurston. How did you pull that off? That's amazing.
All the way from Buffalo. He came down, reached out to him. He already has some familial contacts in the city, so his housing was set, and he took this opportunity to come to New York. He flew in last year when I spoke with him on a panel along with others, including Brian Solomon in University of Buffalo. I took the Amtrak, which is long but pleasant. But Brandon took the airplane.
Wow, look at him. He's taking this very seriously. That's awesome. And I saw he was promoting your book with John Pollock on Post Wrestling. So look at that, man. Nice.
Yeah, I got a screen capture. I made sure. Usually I catch it on the podcast when it drops on Fridays, but Thursday when they were doing the YouTube live, I was like, I think they'll mention something about it, so I better pop in and then try to capture that. So thanks to Brandon, it was a good conversation. We had the chance to talk about Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. Sports washing, which brought us into things like North Korea, and we even talked about the fake Yokozuna during the early days of the Saudi Arabia relationship.
Wow, nice. Look at that. Touching all bases there. I love it. BTZ and Lavie hanging up again or hanging out again. Nice, very cool. All right, so let's wrap up this bad boy. Everybody can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. And we got Lavie's plugs. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week for the latest episode of the Business of the Business. See you next week, folks.